What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gojo with Mike Golic Jr. That is me. With me, as always, now in person, super producer Brandon Newman, sitting over in the corner of the room, my father, Mike Golic Sr. We are live from my dad's basement, which is now the second time in my life I can say I've done a show successfully from my dad's basement. Dad, how you feeling right now, showcasing your stuff to the world down here?
Well, I first off, I feel like Brandon is in timeout. He's over in the corner, which, by the way he golfed today should be in timeout. Second, I tried to have the nice backdrop here of the painting, but the plastic is showing through in my Dexter murder room. I'm going to get this room finished off at some point to make it actually look like a bit of a studio.
Yeah, this is called making it work because we're out in South Bend this week. We've got our family's charity golf tournament. So we're recording this podcast Sunday. You'll be hearing it Monday because Monday morning we'll be teeing off for the Golic Family SubPar Classic. And so we're making it work as best we can right now. The rest of the week we'll be coming to you live here from Dad's basement Tuesday through Friday. But this Monday show going to be a little bit different because we're back here now in year 2 of the golf tournament. Brandon's here, a bunch of my former teammates, a bunch of your former teammates, a bunch of other people that were willing to come and help us out with this. So that is why the circumstances are a little bit different, and we are down here in this very strange-looking basement for the YouTube audience.
You know, as we were thinking of options of, okay, how do we do a show? We normally do it, every day during the week at 10 a.m. Eastern, the live show, and the golf's supposed to start at 9. So it was like, do you golf for an hour, take a quick break while everybody else is golfing, and then do a show? The realization of the amount of alcohol that we would consume in that first hour would really put us over the point of actually being able to broadcast something live.
Well, it's like one of those things you thought about putting a desk out there and maybe you have people come by during the round or something like that. But all of that takes away from what we're trying to do, which is obviously raise a whole bunch of money, try and do that, and then also get everyone to have a good time. We've got weather working against us now, so all of that would have been nightmarish. What's not nightmarish is the show we've actually got. We've got a great one, so download, subscribe, rate, review, leave us that 5-star rating. You check us out still on DraftKingsNetwork.com, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern on Monday, as well as on the DraftKings YouTube channel, Samsung TV Plus, all that good stuff. So, Dad, we are going to do some mailbag questions today since we are, in the summer and we are dealing with the dearth. Although, I should say, we are talking and broadcasting right now while the College World Series Game 2 is going on between Florida and LSU. I saw Florida was currently up there. We won't know the winner until we're done here. LSU up 1-0 in that series, so that's been interesting. Certainly going on this weekend as LSU leads the league in 2 things. Hosses and Jello shots.
Yeah.
They got some big boys on that team.
Big old pitchers on that team. And then, monster tens of thousands of Jello shots. And also, this is normally that slow time of year in sports. But as you mentioned, we have the Men's College World Series, finish up with the Women's College World Series, where Oklahoma took care of their business for a 3rd year in a row. But this is always the time of year you do your Mount Rushmore of something.
I can say shout out to the Pardon My Take guys.
Just pick something, make a list, have other people do your work for you as we're just waiting to get, because the next big thing is going to be training camps opening up about the 3rd week of July. So I did watch some Big 3 basketball, and they did show Ice Cube, who again is mad at the world and the media for not pubbing really Big 3 enough and not thinking it's getting enough love out there. So he's a little dejected at everybody, but did see a little bit of that as well.
That's the thing. We've got a nice platter of things going on right now. WNBA regular season. We'll get Chanae on here at some point. Chanae Gwumake, my old co-host at ESPN, who's still playing with the LA Sparks with her sister NECA. We've got that going on. We've got, I know, World Lacrosse games going on, which if you've listened to me gas bag about lacrosse in the show, once we get out of pool play, I'll have you covered on that in some way, shape, or form too.
And there is, we have found, or at least I have, the easiest PGA course there is. It's at the Travelers in Hartford, where we used to live.
Oh, my God.
That's going on this weekend. The leader, as we're taping this, and the final round is going on, is at 24 under. 24. Are we at a putt-putt course? The PGA record was done at this, at the Travelers, a 58 was done here. And no kidding. Everybody shoots. If you don't shoot in the double digits under par here, you suck. I mean, it's unbelievable. What kind of do they ever think about making it a more difficult course each year? Because it's not. It's got to be one of the easiest I've ever seen.
You know what's amazing about Travelers is we lived in Connecticut for a quarter century, and I never once went to whatever presenting sponsor at the time was presenting the Travelers. I've been in Los Angeles now 1 calendar year, and I went to the PGA Championship at the LA Country Club for a PGA Championship that everybody seemed to hate. All the golfers seemed to dislike everyone watching there. So something about where we're at. The only thing that we can lay claim to as people around golf is you and mom living out in Scottsdale. So at the very least, Waste Management holds it down for Golic tangent golf events that we've got going on. So you're right. That's been an absolute carve up there. Dad, the golf tournament here, for anyone that's not aware, we might as well give everyone a background on this. So last year we did this for the first time. This was your and mom's idea, really, for us to kind of put together some way to help out the local South Bend community around here. You guys now live here half a year. Obviously, you've heard us all talk about going to Notre Dame. You, your brothers, mom at St. Mary's, me, Jake, and Sydney, all at Notre Dame. And so we spent enough time out here. And anyone that's gone to school at Notre Dame and been in the area goes, yeah, you go to school at Notre Dame, but you live in South Bend still, on or off campus. You're a part of that community. That's also such a big part of supporting the school. And so we wanted to try and figure out a way to give back to that surrounding community, not just the campus that everybody sees.
Listen, there are a lot of great charities, national charities. Notre Dame is a great school that your mother and I also, give there, as well. But we really like to give to the more local charities in the community because you can see kind of that instant impact of things that they need. And between, my brother Bob, my brother Greg going here, me going here, your mother going to St. Mary's, your sister-in-law, your aunt Tracy, my wife's sister going to St. Mary's, you and Jake and Sydney all going to Notre Dame. This is home for us. And even though we live all over the country, this is kind of the focal point when we come back here. And we want to help local charities. So we've been able to do that. We've got some partners like Credit Union One who have donated money so we can help even more people. It's been great. And people have been so receptive coming to the event. We're fighting the elements this year a little bit. But it's been great. It's the second year. We raised over $100,000 last year. We're looking to beat that again this year to give to more foundations and charities out here just to help them out. So it's been great. It's wild because you and I golf in these things all the time where you travel around and get asked to golf in these. But when it's your own and we have to now ask the people, I still feel weird about it, because you're taking up their weekend, and the response has been great from, our former teammates and other celebs out there that we've asked that'll make their way here. So that's really a heartfelt type of thing and really appreciate it.
Yep. And we'll be good too, covering the DraftKings family. Jessica Smetana, your co-host on Golic and Smetty, is going to be here. Obviously, Brandon's golfing in the tournament as well. But you mentioned Tim Brown, great former Notre Dame, great wide receiver, Alan Pinkett, Bob Crable,
Brady Quinn.
I'm curious from your standpoint on that, because we get all these people to come back in, what it's like for you, because me and Brandon had dinner with a bunch of our former teammates last night, and it immediately snaps back into form. We're only 11 years out for you running into guys like Bob Crable or Mike Kelly, your former teammate who's here. Like, how long does it take for you guys to kind of settle back into form? Because you're a little bit further down the road than we are.
You don't relive the days at Notre Dame a lot because you just don't remember them because it's been so long ago. You just, in all honesty, like now it's like catching up. Bob Crable has 5 grandkids. I now have my first and another one on the way. So you start talking about that, about life now, as we all, like I bring up Bob Crable, he played in the NFL as well. So you chat about that a little bit, not much.
I caught a brief conversation between the two of you guys on the court, and all I heard was you guys just comparing surgeries.
Well, yeah.
That's all. I saw Steve Berline showing off his new knee replacement that he's got. It seems like all of you are just showing off the new bionic parts in your body.
Another guy that's here, around Matthias Farley. Around when Sydney was here as well. He's with the Raiders now. And I saw him and his group out practicing, and we were talking about, I forgot we brought up, because Jeff Fiegels, my former teammate in Philly, isn't here this year. He had a knee replacement. I said, I got to get a knee replacement after the Super Bowl. And I just looked at Matthias. I said, get ready, babe. When this body parts start failing on you,
Yep.
and you have to find out, what do I have to get replaced? So, but what a lot of times what's cool is when you get the big names, a Tim Brown,
Oh yeah.
a college Hall of Famer, a Pro Football, a Brady Quinn, and stars of last year, Mike Eruzione, and the greatest upset in American sports history. But for me, it's cool as a former defender. My brother Bob will be here as well.
Yeah.
We have the top two. Notre Dame is pretty historic, right? Yeah. We have the top two tacklers of all time in Notre Dame history. Bob Crable is number one. My brother Bob is number two. Your former teammate Manti is number three. But Bob Crable and Bob Golic, 1 and 2, and they're going to be here. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, and the thing is I know for you out on the golf course, you always get bent out of shape because you don't have a lot of muscle mass anymore. You've done a good job losing all the weight, which is things you needed to do. Me and Brandon both ran up on your group, and I had to explain that same thing to Brandon. I was like, that's Notre Dame's all-time leading tackler. Yeah. Like, that's a full-fledged dude. And as Brandon pointed out, he still looks like he's got a few hits left in him. Bob Crable is still built like a linebacker. You look like you're built to maybe play like a H tight end. You got to be back off the ball a little bit. Bob's ready to come downhill and hand it to somebody.
Yeah, Bob could lay the hit on you. What's unique about Bob Crable, his freshman year, your Uncle Bob, my brother, was a senior. They were teammates. Bob Crable's senior year, I was a freshman. So I was teammates with Bob. So Bob Crable was a teammate of me and my brother Bob.
Bob Crable, glue guy.
Yeah.
Big time Golic glue guy. So that is more of what to expect. We'll have plenty of content that we're going to grab out there that I'm sure we'll share with you guys either on the show or on the YouTube channel and get it all going that way as we get ready for now the second annual Golic Family SubPar Classic. So we got some mailbag questions coming up. We're going to do that at Gojo Show on Twitter, where you can find us as always. We got a few to lump in there, as again, this is sort of an oddball show. But with that in mind, Dad, we also didn't get a chance to talk about this much last week. And in the wake of all the NBA free agency discussion and the contract discussion there, I thought it was interesting that Dalvin Cook tried to play an NBA card for a couple of NFL players. He went on Shefty's podcast and talked about how cool it would be if him and DeAndre Hopkins ended up on the same roster. He said, quote, if we end up on the same roster, that would be something epic for the NFL, basically trying to imply that it would have that same sort of feel. And I know what he's trying to say. I don't believe it would have the same sort of effect or impact as what we'd see in the NBA. But, Dad, it is interesting because they're the last two real dominoes to fall in the NFL summer. And when you start to talk about where the two of them could potentially work together, it's interesting because I find myself trying to shoehorn Dalvin Cook into where we've seen DeAndre Hopkins publicly, because we haven't heard a lot about Dalvin Cook and landing spots. Once the initial reporting was done, Adam Schefter mentioned Denver and Miami as two potential landing spots there. But for DeAndre Hopkins on the other side, we've seen him take the visits to Tennessee. We heard flirtation with Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. We know he's been in the building with the New England Patriots too, with his old head coach, Bill O'Brien. That was the one that kind of interested me because it seemed like New England would be an interesting place for Dalvin Cook to try and work into a backfield that's usually been more of a group by committee. And with DeAndre Hopkins, we know there's that relationship we know Bill O'Brien knows how to force feed him the ball, and we know New England desperately needs a true number one receiver.
I could see more New England than Miami. Miami's a pretty crowded running back room, and obviously a wide receiver with Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Throw Hopkins in there would be unbelievable.
It'd be great for Hopkins because, and I've heard plenty of other people, Dominic Foxworth brought this up the other day on his pod, like DeAndre Hopkins isn't I'm going to get really wide open kind of wide receiver. He's tough catches, he's tight windows. And so in that, Shanahan offense, now that Mike McDaniel is running down in Miami, if you got two speedsters opening up space already, could give you pretty good looks as a third option if you're DeAndre Hopkins.
That already on paper is one of the best rosters in the NFL, right? But again, we don't play on paper. New England would be interesting. It's a less crowded running back room there. It'd still be more by committee because Dalvin Cook is not a 25 carry back. He's not going to do that anymore, I don't think.
No, and you saw last year, like he was a lot less explosive. He still had he's had all the numbers. Like he's been 1,000-yard back most every year. He's given you great production. And on his best day, he's been one of the best stretch zone running backs in the NFL. But it would be interesting to get him to a place that is going to take some more of those hits off of him and take more of that load off
of him.
So
in New England, obviously a monster there, right? I mean, they got Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins could be the man there. And Mac Jones probably would love to have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, because Mac Jones is in kind of a proving year himself after a very down last year. So I that to me, if they're going to be together, that would be the place to be together. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to end up on the same team.
Yeah, I would be curious if there was any thought, like any practical way to make that work. New England is interesting. I don't know if it's definitely a prove it year for Mac Jones because of the timeline of his rookie contract. Last year felt completely unfair to him in my mind, just based on how they decided to do that. This is a big year for Bill Belichick. Like, he's already a made man for whatever his future looks like. This is kind of a big year for him. You got a real adult back in the room at offensive coordinator. Right. You've steadied the ship there, but you talk about rosters. Defensively, you're probably going to be one of the best in the NFL again, which they were down the stretch of the season last year. Really good defense. But offensively, like you said, it's kind of an island of misfit toys right now around Mac Jones. And so for Bill O'Brien, who's making this jump back to the NFL, big for him. But Bill Belichick, who for so long had the benefit of the doubt for pretty much every decision he made, feels like he lost that in pretty quick order. Well, like, I don't look at New England moves anymore and say, oh, they must know more than everybody else, or somehow this is going to work out.
And it's been different since Tom left and went to Tampa Bay, and that's the measuring stick, right? Tom won a Super Bowl there, and Bill has not been. But we're considering New England the 4th out of 4 in the AFC East now, right? One of the big differences, Tampa Bay signed everybody under the sun to be with Tom Brady. They don't do that in New England. They don't really go about their business that way.
Not besides that one summer where they spent on like tight end free agents and some other oddball stuff. And it didn't work.
And it really didn't work. So they don't go down that road that Tampa Bay did, not only bringing in players and players wanting to go to Tampa, but then unprecedented after they win the Super Bowl, they get every starter back. The ones they needed to re-sign, they did. Now they're in cap hell because of a lot of that.
Yeah.
But they got the Super Bowl, and that's all that matters. Kind of like the Rams when they traded away all their picks. They got the Super Bowl, and that's all that matters. New England doesn't do business that way.
Do you think that the Patriots are still trying to shop Mac Jones?
No, not at this point. I don't think there's going to be.
I don't think so.
At this point, they're kind of out of options in that regard.
Well, you have Bailey Zappi, so I mean.
That is true. Zaptober could be coming back to a store near you soon, but no. So I think it's going to be kind of an uncomfortable look for how New England's able to go about things right now, just because I don't know if there are a lot of answers for them. And so that's the other part of the DeAndre Hopkins, Dalvin Cook thing, is what their shared goals are. Because for DeAndre Hopkins, we don't really know his motivation, if it's Super Bowl, if it's one last payday, if it's an opportunity or a chance to try and go ball out for 1 year. For Dalvin Cook, it's a much more dire situation just because of the position he plays. Where, if you're DeAndre Hopkins, you got a set of mitts that's going to keep you pretty relevant for the most part for a team that's going to want you. For Dalvin Cook, if you're looking at his age to try and finish out this contract or get one more payday or just secure a future in the NFL, the situation's a little more dire for him.
Well, plus it was horrific last year with the old coordinator. What was going on there in New England? Matt Patricia and who the hell else was it?
It was Matt Patricia and the special teams coach that came from the Giants. Why am I?
Judge.
Yeah, Joe Judge.
So, the interesting now, on a quick offshoot, Matt Patricia going to Philly, where Darius Slay is.
Yeah.
And, he and Darius Slay had that run-in against each other when Matt Patricia was the head coach of Detroit, saying you're not an elite player to Darius Slay. They had a monster falling out.
Yeah.
Now he's in Philly, and now Patricia is there. So that also didn't help Mac Jones' progression by having those guys running the offense. Now you have a guy in Bill O'Brien who's legitimately can be an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, maybe don't say that to Alabama fans. They might feel a little bit differently about that. So we will wait and see what we've got there. We will now also wait and see as we get forward to some mailbag questions we're going to get to here. Although before we start the mailbag and get to that, I need to ask a question of our dear sweet Brandon Newman, who's still hanging out in the corner in timeout, and we may find out why. Brandon, this is a tweet that you sent when you were bopping around on the internet leading into this weekend that I wanted to circle back with you on and see how you felt about. Brandon tweeted out of nowhere on June 23rd. This is going to sound extremely wild coming from me, but eating is extremely overrated.
Yeah.
What prompted this? Before we get to the validity of the take, I just want to know what preceded you firing off these words.
Okay, so as you guys know, I was a little under the weather last week. I had a little stomach bug, so I really couldn't eat.
Right.
Right. I had a couple pretzels that tasted so good, couple toast. I believe it's the brat diet when you're sick. It's something rice, applesauce, toast. What's the B?
Bread?
Banana. No, toast is with the bread thing. But anyways, so I hadn't had a chance to eat, and I was feeling great. I hadn't had coffee, and I was feeling great. So then, when I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what? I was thinking about what's the name of the offensive lineman who fasted for 40 days?
Oh, DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
No, that's the Berkshire. I mean, he probably did, but the one who just for the Seattle Seahawks, Oka.
Oh, Russell Okung. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And I was thinking about his journey, and I was like, you know what? Eating's overrated. It's just like the rest of the stuff in America they sell us. They want us fat and happy, so we don't think about anything else. But we really don't need to eat 3 times a day.
Well, listen, I don't dispute that maybe the way we've been told to eat or methods like that might have a different relationship now or different reasons for it. But eating itself, especially because I look at eating the way I look at like breathing and sleeping, right? It's a vital.
Yes.
You've got to do it to live.
Yeah. You
like,
need it to live.
You don't need it as badly as you need water to live, but you need it to live. And so it's one of the vital things that you've got to do. And among those, sleeping, breathing, or eating, I would say eating's at the top of the list as far as enjoyment.
But that's why it's overrated, because you trick your brain to think it's for pleasure when it really should only be and could only be for fuel.
But that's my point, is it's the only one of those. Like sleep, it definitely is pleasurable to wake up refreshed, but you don't get to actively enjoy the experience of sleeping. You get to actively enjoy eating. That's what separates it. That's why it might be underrated, because it's vital, but it also is extremely enjoyable.
It's not as a big enough. Sleeping is a better fuel than eating is.
The worst thing out of what we're talking about is sleep deprivation. I agree with that, but I do not agree.
Oxygen deprivation is pretty tough. If you can't breathe.
And blue balls. What?
Also very bad.
Well, yeah.
I mean, not as bad as being choked, or as bad as being sleep deprived, but
that a boy, Brandon. That a boy. What I was going to say before that just threw me for a loop. I do not think eating is overrated. I know it's for fuel, but I get much joy out of eating.
Well,
much joy out of eating.
That's the best part is it can be for both.
Right.
Like there have been portions of my life when I was trying to get ready to like gain weight for football where I would say eating was a business meeting.
Right.
Like every lunch with my buddy Kevin Egan from high school used to say, when I was eating for fuel, it was a business meeting. It would be putting up barriers. It's just me and the table and the food. And I am eating when the clock says. I am eating what I know I'm supposed to eat for the fuel. And then I'm getting out. And that can be largely miserable.
Right.
Like when I was training for Pro Day, it was chicken, rice, and broccoli. Pretty much every meal on a loop in perpetuity, egg whites for breakfast, all that stuff. That's not having fun. Like that's eating for fuel. When you get to eat for fun, though, when someone goes and balls out in a dish and you got the people I'm most envious of are chefs who can look at a set of ingredients and then create with that and use it to tell this story. Like watch diners, drive-ins, and dives and tell me that eating is overrated again, Brandon. I dare you.
Can't.
There's just no way.
There's so much pleasure in it. So much.
That's maybe what I'm trying to say. It's like it's too sensationalized. It's like eating. It could be like a gas station, but we treat it like a brothel.
But I guess that's the point, is it's legalized. We have support, like, this is like if we it's like if we legalized sex work and gave it the dignity it deserves, that would be what it'd be like going through a buffet for the first time.
Well, I'll tell you what, Brandon, that was a really good analogy, though.
I don't know if it was.
That was.
I'm not even sure of the words that are coming out of my mouth right now, other than to say that people should support sex workers and treat them with dignity. I will always stand by.
The most amazing story, because it happened to us, about when you and Jake needed to gain weight. So your mother was all in on that, and she would make sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, all kind of sandwiches, and leave them in the fridge and tell you guys, just go eat. You would eat, and we would force Jake to eat as well. At least we thought we did. when we sold that one house and moved to another house, and you got to clean out the entire house, like up on top of like cabinets, there are like
they're potted plants and stuff like that.
Pulling them down and found inside of those, Jake had taken the sandwiches out of the fridge like he was going to eat them and put them in those potted plants.
Yeah,
and
they were petrified.
Years later, we would pull them
like
out. They
fossils,
were green and petrified because he was just sick of eating them. So we would hide them in places around the house that we found when we moved.
He would also hide tests that he had failed.
He would.
We found a couple. It was petrified sandwiches and old tests.
Which is so moronic because we're gonna find out. This is at the age in high school where we still get sent the
progress
report
reports
card and progress reports, so we know when the grades aren't going well. Yeah, Jake was interesting, but his remedy, he said, because now he has a son, Jackson. We said, Jake, what if Jackson? What are you going to teach him about academics? He said, well, I'm taking Mike's, yours, academic All-American plaque.
Which came into question the other day.
Yep, which scratching out your name and putting his name on it and showing his son, Jackson, look, Jackson, your father was an academic All-American.
See, I feel like it's going to be so hard to lie to this next generation of kids because they're going to have the internet for so long. These kids are going to be tech savvy. Like Brandon Carter's, 3 now?
Yes.
He's got to be able to wheel and deal on an iPad already.
Yeah, he doesn't like asking for help, but he's willing to if he's click some stuff to get around. But the way he's able to cancel out of ads already is scary.
That's the thing. So they already know enough how to operate that. And so our days of, I think, being able to get over and lie to them about the final score of the national championship game or Jake's academic All-American status, I feel like they're going to be a few keystrokes away from Google or that Apple VR headset where they're basically going to grow up living inside the internet anyway.
That's true.
So
they're not going to be in the real world anymore.
The bottom line is food, at worst, properly rated. Definitely not overrated.
Completely agree with you.
At worst, it is properly rated. I would say still somehow underrated.
I'll take that as a win. I think I flipped some people. So
all right, let's get to some mailbag questions from the listeners. This one came from Ken Korsak, who said, "What summer and winter Olympic sports would you like to compete in if you had a choice?" Dad, this is your baby. Go.
The summer, easy wrestling.
Yeah,
I mean,
figured as much.
I wrestled in high school and college. My brother Bob wrestled in high school and college. Bob, I actually think, could have had a good shot of making the 80 Olympic team for
Didn't
wrestling.
he wrestle some gigantic Russian guy at some point?
No, he actually wrestled a guy from Oklahoma State named Jimmy Jackson, 6'8", 380. This is back when heavyweights didn't have the 285-pound weight limit, which I think is ridiculous because I think 300, 320-pounders are really good athletes today. So 285, I think.
We love crazy. A hoss.
But this guy, Jimmy Jackson, was a 2 or 3-time NCAA champ and 6'8", 380. And Bob wrestled him his sophomore year. And to this day, I don't know why, tried to shoot a double leg takedown on him, which means he was completely underneath 380. Right. Don't know why he did it, but he did it. Didn't end well there.
Yeah.
Took fourth his sophomore. Bob was a better wrestler than I was. Took fourth his sophomore year, third his junior year. His senior year, he was the top-ranked heavyweight in the country. They played in the infamous Cotton Bowl game, chicken soup game, where Joe Montana got sick, had chicken soup broth at halftime, came out. They had a comeback. My brother Bob hurt his knee in that game. So he didn't wrestle his senior year, where I think he would have been the national champ. This was 79 he graduated. The Olympics were in 80. He was going in the draft in 79. You couldn't be a two-sporter then, which has changed.
Huh.
Remember a guy like Herschel Walker played in the NFL and did
Deion Sanders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So guys could Deion Sanders in the Olympics?
I'm sorry, say two-sport athlete. I thought you meant in general.
You couldn't be a two-sport. You couldn't be a pro.
Oh, you couldn't be a pro.
Olympics.
Got it. Okay.
Back when Bob was coming out.
I was like, oh yeah, Deion Sanders, two-sport athlete.
Because after Herschel Walker was in the NFL and competed in the Olympics. So if Bob wanted to compete in the Olympics, he would have had to not go in the NFL draft and wait a year.
Oh, okay.
And he didn't want to do that. It turns out, good thing, because 80 we boycotted anyway, the Summer Olympics, so he would have done it for naught because we didn't go. But I think he could have had a good chance of making the Olympic wrestling team, which would have been awesome. So I love wrestling, always have, love it as much as football. For me, Summer Olympics would have been wrestling. Winter Olympics, luge, man. I mean,
you'd want to actually do the luge?
I watched that and I'm like, well, yeah, because I would have, if I would have be competing in it, means I would have been doing it, and used to it. I love it. I absolutely love watching that. So yeah, I would have done that. That would have been my Winter Olympics. But there's a lot I'd have chosen from because I love the Olympics, as you well know. I love them all.
Summer Olympics, I watched for the first time on TikTok someone actually doing and competing in the hammer throw.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
And also seems like something where, and it's not to disparage the athletes there, I would not be able to throw it as far as them, but it would be the most fun. And even though I would be bad at it, I wouldn't have to overexert myself.
No, you would not. You just have to spin its timing. Spin it.
Right. Just spin it and launch that thing.
Right.
I mean, there's a chance I'd kill someone spectating.
Yeah.
This is like what you always talk about getting ready for Tahoe to play in that golf tournament.
Yeah.
I would be terrified operating any of the heavy throwing items in a track event that I would launch it into the crowd and kill somebody.
That's exactly right.
I would like the hammer, but I think I got to go shot put because I can control that a little bit more. My last bout with discus was at state when I was a junior in Kentucky, and I scratched all 3 throws.
Oh, you did?
Scratched all 3.
I threw the disc. I love doing that. Yeah,
my second one landed in the long jump pit like it was.
Oh, good thing nobody was competing then, huh?
They were over there.
How about Winter Olympics?
Winter Olympics would be tough because you mentioned the luge. I've been watching that Physical 100 show on Netflix, which is incredible. And Young Sung Bin is, I believe, the guy who does the skeleton.
Yes.
Where you go face first and it's just you.
Man,
one of the most powerful athletes I've ever seen in my life, which lets me know that 1, I'm not crazy enough to do that sport, and 2, I'm not muscular enough to doing that. The biathlon. I want to go around on skis and shoot a gun.
Skis and then shoot a gun.
The biathlon is awesome. It's basically like cross-country skiing.
Yeah, right.
And then in the middle, you've got to shoot targets.
You got to bring your heart rate down, relax. You have to lay down and you have to shoot. And then, it's not fast skiing, but it's cross-country and it's going to wear you out.
Oh, yeah. Listen, it's definitely going to be taxing.
Yes.
But it's me getting to go around cross-country skiing strapped.
But it's cool. Yeah, you strap it around your back and you're skiing and then you pull. The one that blows my mind and I watch it and I cringe is the moguls. When those guys' knees are just boom, boom, boom going down that's crazy.
What would be the Winter Olympic sport you would least want to do?
That one?
Oh, see,
that one hurts
for me, it's the long ski jump.
Oh, yeah.
Because that one I would die.
Yeah, that's true.
That one would kill me. Like the moguls I could survive.
Point.
Can we respect curling right now?
Oh, yeah. Shouts out. Would absolutely do curling.
Boy, I would love. We did curling one time over at here at Notre Dame.
Yeah, we got to do that for Notre Dame Day around here over at the Compton Ice Rink there. Curling's a great time.
That's great because you can actually do that sport drunk.
Curling's it's like ice golf.
Yeah.
Or like, I guess.
Ice bowling.
Ice bowling would probably be.
Anything, yeah.
You could definitely bust your ass on there in a way you can't bowling.
Right. All things you can do old and drunk.
Yeah. Big fan of those.
Yeah.
Big fan of those.
Right.
So Ken, appreciate that question here. This is from Wilson Soccer 22. If you could only have one cereal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
So, I mean, the ones that come to mind are, am I picking a Captain Crunch? Am I picking a Lucky Charms? Something like that.
A lot of sugar for the rest of your life. Now, it's not to say you have to have it every day.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing is, the way to think about this question is, you're not having this cereal every day, but it's the only cereal you can have for the rest of your life. So you don't have to worry about overexposure because if you go too hard for a little bit, you can just take a couple of weeks off.
I'm into Total now.
That's the oldest thing you've ever said.
I know, but I'm telling you, your mother gets it at the store and I like it, but that's not the one I'm picking. Not the one I'm picking. You know where I'm going?
Really into Raisin Bran at the moment.
No, hate Raisin Bran. Hate raisins. I'm going to pick one. Frosted Flakes. They're great. Tony the Tiger, baby. Frosted Flakes.
Wait, dangerous. I just feel like you're going to get bored with that after a while.
It's awesome. Flakes, sugary.
So
again, as much as I want, then I can back off. Where are you going?
So I would probably, if I'm going to think about long term here, because like clearly as you've shown, cereal taste can change with age and.
Oh, without a doubt.
So I feel like one that would hold up really well over time because for posterity here, the best cereal of all time for me is Waffle Crisp. It is like, it's Cinnamon Toast Crunch with ass. It's just beefed up.
Yeah.
It kind of also brings in some of that Captain Crunch Oops All Berries. It'll carve up your mouth a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But
that's why I couldn't go Captain
Earn not given. You got to earn your place at the table when it comes to breakfast. So I'm not really against that or out on that. Waffle Crisp would probably be the answer. I wouldn't mind though frosted mini wheats.
You know, there's sugar in that too.
That's what
I frosted flakes. You go frosted mini wheats.
So my thing is not the sugar with the frosted flakes. It's a cereal you got to eat quick because it's going to get soggy quick. And I don't know about you, I like a little crunch in mine. That's what I like about mini wheats is they can take a bath for a little bit. There's still some crunch. It's going to fill you up, so I don't have to eat a ton of it. Like a lot of those other cereals, I got to kill 3/4 of a box to feel good.
Yeah.
Mini wheats, I get like 1.5 bowls of that, and I'm good to go.
You're good. I agree with that.
It's a thicko. It's a Hoss cereal.
Best cereal that leaves the best tasting milk.
Ooh, Reese's Puffs.
Count Chocula.
Yeah, I mean, same basic principle though.
Yeah.
Reese's Puff is where I'm going for my one cereal. So you took it out of my head.
Reese's Puffs is a great cereal.
Notice none of us picked the non-sugar one.
Oh no. I mean, listen, you did give love to Total.
All right, how about this? You have to pick the non-sugar one. I'm going Total.
I don't even know what non-sugar cereals are. I don't
Any
eat them.
brands, a Raisin Bran, a Corn Flakes, Total. You know,
okay.
Like that.
Special K red berries.
Special K is another one. Yep.
I legitimately do not eat those. That is how big of a toddler I am.
Welcome to my diabetic world soon.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. It's only a matter of time. All right, this is from Tillman Clark. In honor of the family golf outing, create your fantasy foursome for golf with fictional characters only.
Ooh, fictional fantasy foursome. Thank you, Tillman.
I'm so bad at this, so I'm gonna let you.
So, what's your favorite? Like, think about your favorite TV shows. God, I'm trying to think. So I feel like I want to just say Kevin Costner because at this point, while I'm thinking of Kevin Costner's character in Tin Cup,
yeah.
I just feel like in general, Kevin Costner is more of a fictional sports movie character than he is a real life human being at this point.
Yeah.
Like he only exists when a new sports movie needs to be made.
That's true.
And he's got to reprise some sort of role in that.
All the way to being a GM.
So I would go him. I would go John C. Reilly, but as the catcher from For Love of the Game.
Okay.
Not in any of the other roles. I'd do him as the catcher from For Love of the Game. I gotta go.
I'm horrible at this.
Yeah, no, you're really. I should have given this to you ahead of time. I should have known better.
I'll bring in Thor for the driving.
All right. So, that's probably a better way to think about it.
Okay.
So you've got him for the driving there.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of superheroes with like then touch maybe for the chipping that I'm trying to.
So now you're just building like the Marvel Cinematic Universe's golf foursome
scramble team. Yeah.
A golf team. I'm thinking a lot about cartoon characters. Like I was thinking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit the other day. So, there's like a mix of like both the Warner Brothers, Looney Tunes and Disney. So I think I probably have like Goofy out there with me.
All right.
I feel like it'd be a good time.
So I'll give you then my dream Dragon Ball Z foursome.
Oh, okay.
Vegeta's obviously in there. Piccolo's obviously in there. Gohan's going to be in there because he'll have a rangefinder in the bag. That nerd is going to have all the best golf gear out there. He won't have practiced in a while, but we're playing in a scramble, so he's going to be able to give you a really good shot every once in a while that makes you think, wow, if this guy just committed himself, he could be the best golfer of all time. And that, like, I don't want to put Goku in there.
No, there's got to be. I'm going to say Krillin might be one of the best putters in the DBZ universe. Like, who's a good short game guy?
I'm going to go Android 17.
Oh,
limitless energy, going to take it serious when we need it, and comes through in the clutch in pretty much every DBZ cycle, Dragon Ball Z Super cycle that exists.
Any possible way that I can leave?
I'm going Android 18 for diversity and inclusion.
Can I just say, I don't know one name that you guys have said. Not one.
All right, we're going to get my dad as far away from that as possible. Thank you to everyone who sent questions in. We're sorry we didn't get to more, but as you can see, we're easily distracted.
Not one person. I didn't know one name that you and Brandon said. Not one.
Honestly, I'm genuinely surprised that at some point along the way, some sort of curiosity into the fact that you who have watched every show known to man already twice didn't at some point get curious about some anime show that just came across you on Netflix.
I think I I did, and I think maybe 30 seconds in, I said, "This is really stupid," and moved on.
I feel like Cowboy Bebop might be up your alley. That one's a little bit more traditional, clear cut. There's not monsters and demons.
Is that a character or is that a show?
It's a show.
Okay.
Cowboy Bebop's just about space cowboys. Like, you might actually dig that one.
Okay.
Anyway, we're going to get to this, that, and the third and finish this off. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review. Leave us a 5-star rating. We're sorry about this podcast today. This has been a giant cluster. So we're going to get to 3 quick stories to send you guys off on so that we can go worry about golfing and the outing on Monday and come back to you with a vengeance on Tuesday. Let's get to this, Dad. This was a cool story. Yes. Speaking of Olympic sports. So the European Championships are going on right now in Poland in track and field. And Belgium had a problem. They did not have someone to race in the 100-meter hurdles. They had someone bow out, I believe, because of injury before that event took place. And so they didn't want to get disqualified. They had one of their shot-putting hammer throwers step in. Jolien Bombquo, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right.
Did it pretty well, I think.
Is a Belgian shot putter and hammer thrower who is 29 years old, went through the race and finished with a time of 32.81 seconds, 19 seconds after the winner actually finished. But, Dad, she was a conquering hero crossing that finish line. Had never done this, should have won on some sort of technicality just based off the effort alone.
Absolutely saved their team from getting disqualified.
Yeah.
That's why she ran it, so they wouldn't get disqualified. She's twice the size of all of them. She basically jogged up to the hurdle and then kind of stopped and stepped over it, but she finished.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. So kudos to her.
Finished the drill.
All the racers gave her high fives like, hey, cool, you did that. She took 7th, I think, in the shot put. But very cool to help the team out. It's a very neat thing.
I can say, so yeah, they had 2 hurdlers pull out with injuries. Right. So they would have been disqualified there. She's got to get some sort of medal of honor when they get back to Belgium.
Something. Yeah. It was awesome.
Free waffles for life.
Oh, there you go.
That's what I'm talking about. So congratulations to her.
Good job.
Let's go to that. Dad, this one, we hadn't actually got to talk about this one. So West Virginia has named their former assistant Josh Eilert to replace Bob Huggins after they failed to go through a national search. Their athletic director, Ren Baker, basically said this late in June, we kind of started pulling people nationally, and it just wasn't going to work out to try and go outside and try and bring someone in. And so Josh Eilert takes over for Bob Huggins, who now will no longer be coaching there after the DUI arrest that he went through last week. This following up him already having his pay doc, dealing with the suspension, using homophobic slurs on a radio station. It's been a hell of a summer for Bob Huggins. And this is probably what should have happened, Dad. I mean, for as much as West Virginia loves Bob Huggins, he's a son of West Virginia. He's someone that means a lot to that school and has brought them a lot of success here. Either of these on their own could have been grounds for someone to lose their job when you are the public-facing figure of a university, when you are someone who is supposed to be showing the young people under your charge, hey, this is what not to do. This all would have been stuff on the laundry list of meetings that you would have had if you're Bob Huggins with your team, telling your players not to do. I understand former players who have played for him loved him and that West Virginia loved him, but he really gave them no choice with how he acted.
Well, this one he did. The first one, the homophobic slurs, I mean, this day and age, you're right. You get canceled is the word we use.
You could have gotten fired.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
He's beloved there because he's from there. He was docked, like you said, $1 million, suspended 3 games.
Yeah.
You know, but he was docked $1 million. So I think there was some eyebrows raised that he hung on to his job. And now, I mean, my God, he was in Pittsburgh with the DUI. Thought he was in Columbus.
I was going to say, couldn't identify where he was. Wasn't able to point out which knee that he had surgery on. There were apparently cans all over the car. He blew up like a .2.
.21,
a .21. So it was dangerous, reckless. Thankfully, no one was hurt himself or otherwise there.
Yeah.
But again,
you knew he had to be gone. So in this case, listen, now they say they're going to conduct a national search at the conclusion of next season, but now this assistant coach gets a chance. So, you know, maybe he can do well and maybe keep that job if they, you know, when they do the national search, maybe he'll do well enough to keep that job. We'll see. So he has, you know, the opportunity now after what was just an incredible. Bob Huggins is a rough dude anyway. He's a He's a rough dude.
He is. I mean, listen, we've known that, but we've also seen, the tender moments with players, the way that people who played for him talk
beloved,
about
like you said. You're right. People love him.
And so in West Virginia, 11 NCAA tournament appearances in 16 seasons from 07 to 23. The program's second ever Final Four in 2010. So this is going to get difficult now. And since Bob Huggins' departure, and Dad, this becomes the other part about the opportunity for the coach. They've had 3 players that were projected starter players, including projected starting point guard, put their names into the transfer portal since that. So in this day and age, and this is what the portal, I think especially was built for, was moments where a coaching change happened late to give players an opportunity to recoup the year for them.
Yeah,
so,
this is my guy. Now my guy's gone. I'm out of here.
Yeah,
so
the circumstances changed. I shouldn't be trapped based on somebody else's mistakes here. And in this case, that somebody was Bob Huggins. Dad, let's get to the third here. I saw this pop up the other day. The guys on New Heights podcast, Jason and Travis Kelsey, did a version of this with Shannon Sharp, asking him this about Skip Bayless. But I saw this from James D. Grambo on Twitter, who asked, would you rather be given $1 million,
just given $1 million,
$1 million flat out, or have 10 carries in an NFL game to gain 5 yards and you would get $10 million if you got 5 yards on 10 carries? So you average half a yard per carry and you're getting $10 million in an NFL game. And I will let you pick your offensive line.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt you would take the 10 carries to gain 5 yards. Now, this is coming from me, you, Brandon, everybody who played big-time football. That's what I would do. If you got to pick your O-line, you could pick the Eagles' offensive line or whatever. I'm sure you could think to yourself, I'll fall forward because of my offensive line. This isn't like I have to go beat Jalen Ramsey or whoever, in a one-on-one and make a catch.
Dude.
You're going to get hit. I get it. You're definitely going to get hit. But if you get to go behind an offensive line, that means you get to rely on other people as well.
You
get behind one of them. And you know what? To save yourself from taking a hit, fall. Man, if you get a yard past the line of scrimmage, fall down.
I just don't think the average person is going to be able to confidently hit the hole with that chaos going on around you.
I'm not even talking about hit goal. I'd run up the back of one of my linemen who's a yard downfield.
But I'm saying I think just natural human instinct and fear is going to set in, and you're going to stutter your feet and get cleaned out from some guy coming from the second level closing from the backside here. Like, I would take the $1 million.
You would?
I would take the $1 million. Hell yes.
Oh, I would take the 10 carries for 5 yards for 10 mil.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
at Gojo Show on Twitter. Let us know that one, because, again, this is speaks to the larger running backs don't matter conversation, where I think some people look at this and say, oh, you'll just take the yards that you're given by the offensive line. That requires you to get there in a way that I don't know, like, a running back is like a little kickoff return every play where you're approaching that line of scrimmage with no fear as you get ready to try and make moves with an instant based on flashes of color. I'm just saying, I got a little bit more respect for my running back brothers out there to say that I would be the guy that could go out there and get you 5.
I'm not saying it would be easy. I'm not saying any of that, but I would take that chance because I got to rely on 5 guys in front of me.
And I'm saying I would take $1 million for sitting on my ass and go on about my day. We hope you somehow get $1 million going on through your day. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review, leave us a 5-star rating. Check us out on the DraftKings YouTube channel, as well as Samsung TV Plus. And you can check out Golic Family Foundation.com. Donate there to try and help out the cause. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Go. Boom. Money in the bank.